Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Recap of Honor. I am your host, Colin Tester of WrestleZone.com. This week's Recap of Honor is a special one because this weekend we had the Ring of Honor Best in the World pay-per-view, and of course that was a special show because it marked the return of live fans for the first time since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. Obviously, as a Ring of Honor fan, that's very exciting for me. I wasn't there in person, but just seeing the fans there watching on TV, just being able to hear the crowd and how much that added to every single match was just a great experience and made what was already going to be a memorable show that much more special. So we're going to talk about the pay-per-view itself and this weekend's episode of Ring of Honor Wrestling. Because this is the way the broadcast schedule kind of falls out. You know, the pay-per-view's on Sunday, and I didn't get a chance to watch the show until this morning. So I figured we would do the Ring of Honor Wrestling show first as kind of a pre-show, and then get into what was obviously a very memorable, eventful, and quite enjoyable Ring of Honor Best in the World pay-per-view. Before we do, just want to remind you all that this show, like everything we do here at WrestleZone, is available on any number of streaming platforms, or at SoundCloud, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, whatever it may be. We've got you covered. So, Ring of Honor Wrestling this past weekend, setting up Best in the World on Sunday. Technically, the show aired on Friday, but again, with that broadcast schedule, I didn't get a chance to watch it until Monday. So, in hindsight, I got to kind of see some things that may have been foreshadowing what eventually happened on Sunday. For example, the Briscoes, Mark and Jay, were in action against Joe Keys and Dante Caballero, a bunch of Ring of Honor Dojo guys. They've been on Ring of Honor TV before. I think it was right around Christmas time last year. They're in like a dojo showcase match. I remember being impressed with both guys. You know, a lot of the guys that have come from the dojo, it's almost like the New Japan system where they're like quote unquote young guys, like they don't really have really distinct personalities. Although Joe Keys, he was in the rankings battle royale and he was the runner up. He and LSG were the runners, the winner and I guess second place winner of that battle royale, and they faced off in Ring of Honor Wrestling. Of course, LSG won that match, but still a good showing for Joe Keys. Dante Caballero seemed impressive back then. So, and it's more noting these two guys in that showcase match, they won a tag team. I think their opponents were Eric Martin and Ken Dixon. That's right, if I recall correctly. So they have some experience together. They were 1-0 as a team, but obviously two dojo guys going up there against 11-time tag team champions in the Briscoes. You know how it's going to go. And in a bit of a fun pre-match kind of segment, Joe Keys and Dante were not too thrilled with this matchup because they knew that it was not in their favor. And basically, Joe Keys was like, "Oh, we're going to get killed out there," essentially. And that's basically what happened, right? I mean, I don't no need to bury the lead here. The Briscoes won. It was pretty decisive. Keys and Caballero, they held their own. They got the chance to be in there with obviously one of the best tag teams of this generation of Ring of Honor, the whole history. So just that opportunity alone was definitely good for them. And for the Briscoes, I talked about this last week, but they had the fight on the farm. They're now back in action as a team, and they're literally doing the whole started from the bottom, now we're here kind of thing. And now they are back on track, on targeting the titles again. So number 12 is not out of the question. I talked about it on the pre-show that I did, a pre-show of Dennis Farrell of the Wrestling Perspective podcast. Go check that out on all of our audio platforms. But we were talking about that and saying, Ring of Honor, the tag division doesn't have a whole lot of depth right now. So it wouldn't be all too surprising to see the Briscoes actually challenge for the titles again sooner and later. But here, that mission to the titles again is started off pretty darn well with a win on Ring of Honor Wrestling against two guys from the dojo who, although they may be very talented, obviously it was just not their night when you're in there against the Briscoes, and they're a team that's 1-0 versus 11-time tag team champions. So always good to see the Briscoes in there back together. Not fighting on a farm, just teaming up, doing what they do best, beating up people, and that's what we got on Ring of Honor Wrestling this weekend. The second match we got was Flip Gordon versus PJ Black. Now heading into this show aired on Friday, kind of as a preview for Best in the World. So in hindsight, we knew that Flip Gordon would be facing EC3 the pay-per-view. PJ Black recently made his return to Ring of Honor after he was gone for several months. PJ Black would also be in action on Sunday in a tag team match with Brian Johnson. They'd be facing the Briscoes, so a little nice segue there. So with Flip Gordon, again, I talked about it on that previous show for the pay-per-view. Flip Gordon, a guy that has already been announced for a world title match at Glory by Honor in Philadelphia. We'll talk about that a little more later on. In this match against a true veteran of the business and PJ Black. PJ Black has been wrestling since 1997. which is just mind-boggling when you think about it. You know, he's in great shape. He can obviously still go. He more than held his own in there with a guy like Flip Gordon. They're both two of Ring of Honor's best high flyers. You know, or at least that's just kind of the image that they're. You know, I guess I should say that I view them as, you know, that they are the two of the best high flyers. Obviously, when you've got a company with Bandito, Flamida, Ray Orris, all these guys that can really go out there and steal the show with their aerial assault, you know, it's hard to kind of earn that distinction. But Flip Gordon, PJ Black, definitely two talented guys. Now, for me, highlight of this match was Brian Johnson being on commentary. Obviously, I've said it before. I've interviewed Brian twice now, so I'm very biased, but I think Brian's great on the mic, whether that's in a promo or, as I've seen before, on commentary. So I thought that was a lot of fun, having him kind of throw some insults at well, pretty much everybody in Ring of Honor. He was insulting Flip Gordon. He was insulting the Briscoes. He did compliment PJ Black. Obviously, those guys are reuniting as a tag team, at least it would seem. In the end, this was a very competitive match. Flip Gordon, as we might expect based on his past actions in recent months in various matches, not all too surprising that he cheated doing this one. He poked PJ Black in the eye and hit the flip 5 and what made him submit the flip. I think that's the name of the move. It's actually an STF, but in the end, Flip Gordon picked up a big win again, beating a guy that's been wrestling since 1997, a true veteran of the business, guy that's traveled all over the world. Definitely a nice feather in the cap for Flip Gordon. And again, in hindsight, that was helpful going into Best in the World on Sunday, picking up a little momentum like that. So good win for him, and you know, just kind of setting him up for success on Sunday. And as we'll talk about later, unfortunately, he did not capitalize on that, but that we'll get there later. Because lastly, here for the Ring of Honor Wrestling, the TV show for the weekend, we had a star-studded, electric, dynamic triple threat tag team match. I've talked about it pretty much every show here since I started doing this show. The stable warfare in Ring of Honor has been a lot of fun. You've got the Foundation, you've got LFI, and now we've got Violence Unlimited, and all three forces clashed this past weekend in this triple threat tag team match. It was Jay Lethal, the Pure Champion, and Jonathan Gresham of the Foundation versus Brody King and Tony Deppen, at that point the TV champion of Violence Unlimited, against Kenny King and Dragon Lee of LFI, La Faction Ingobernable. Now, this was definitely a preview kind of across the board, because on Sunday we did see Brody King face Jay Lethal in a singles match. We saw Tony Deppen defend his title against Dragon Lee. Gresham faced Mike Bennett, but he was in there too, so he was just doing his part as a loyal member of the Foundation. And I thought this was a lot of fun. I have to commend Ring of Honor on the true storytelling we really get on pretty much every match. They just make it very clear how they're really going for not just, I want to say, one story that makes it seem too too narrow, but they do a great job of telling stories in these matches beyond featuring great wrestling. So here the story was LFI was going to sit back and let the two factions destroy each other. That's what we saw kind of before that triple threat match a couple weeks ago, where Tony Deppen pinned Tracy Williams and not Dragon Lee to set up their match at Best in the World. So yet again, a great clash between all three stables here. LFI, King and Lee kind of sat on the outside and let the Foundation and Violence Unlimited destroy each other. In the end, Kenny King pinned Jonathan Gresham, basically stole the pin from, I think it was like a Shining Wizard from Tony Deppen. So Kenny King has pinned Jonathan Gresham, and so you have to kind of wonder, would that put him in line for a pure title shot at some point down the road? I don't know. He hasn't really competed in a pure rules match, though he was in the pure title tournament. So maybe that's worth bringing up at this point, because it's obviously a fair question. Whenever you pin a champion, got to wonder if you will get a title shot. So in hindsight, again, I watched this on Monday morning after the pay-per-view, whereas it actually aired as kind of a preview for it. So seeing Kenny King pin Gresham, as it turns out, Gresham didn't get pinned in the pure title match. He's still the pure champion, but he did get pinned in the tag title match. So 2 pins for Jonathan Gresham, a guy that I've said many, many times, one of the very best wrestlers in the world. Pretty surprising to see him to pick up get pinned twice like that. So with that wraps up the discussion for the weekend show, the Ring of Honor Wrestling, the TV show. So now the main event, obviously, the encore, the entree, if you will, of this podcast for this week. Ring of Honor, Best in the World, the pay-per-view. That's what we were looking forward to on Sunday. As I said at the start of the show, live fans were back for the first time since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. It's felt like forever. It has been far too long, and obviously through no fault of Ring of Honor, through no fault of professional wrestling. That's just the way the world has been. Now, I say it all the time on various podcasts here, the wrestling world is returning to some semblance of normalcy, and for Ring of Honor, that meant that fans could come back for the first time. And I, even from the first tweet from Ring of Honor before the show even started, just a shot of all the fans lining up, get so excited to get into the building there. And it's just really heartwarming stuff. It's so thrilling. And I mean, I'm saying this as a fan that was sitting here watching the show. Ian Riccaboni, the play-by-play guy, tweeted about it. He was tearing up walking to the ring. He was just so emotional. Everybody, I would imagine, in Ring of Honor, so emotional, having the fans back. It's just such a great experience. And again, as a fan, I could even see that. So I'll say first off, just having the fans back made the show so much fun, because even the hour one, or if you will, the pre-show, the fans were into it. They were really responding, cheering, booing, getting into both matches, and that was kind of the theme of the night all throughout. And that just made this show. I mean, I'm sure it would have been a great show anyway. But man, it was just such a great experience being able to see the fans, hear the fans again, have that atmosphere, have the wrestlers playing off of it. So I want to get that out of the way first, because that's kind of the running theme of the night. But as for the matches themselves, let's, I guess, start with that hour one pre-show. We're getting a bunch of comments here already, and I promise I'll get into those once we kind of get into the main card, the main matches here. But on the pre-show, the first match up for the hour one here of Best in the World, it was Demonic Flamida versus Ray Orris, of formerly the two Mexican Squad partners, formerly guys that have held the 6-man tag titles together. Obviously, Flamida went his own way. Now he's Demonic Flamida. I said it as soon as he introduced this new character. I thought this has got a lot of legs to it. It's really cool. I think there's really a lot of potential here, and I was hoping to see him win. I was talking to Dennis Farrell on our preview show for preview stream for the show, and he called this one a match of the night contender, and we got it on the pre-show. The pre-show for absolutely free. Ring of Honor, best wrestling in the world, and they gave him a match of the night contender for free. Just that's how much they care about the fans. That's how much they want to give to the fans. So when you have the ability to watch a match that you just know is going to be really good like that for absolutely free, you know you're in for a good show. And this was the very first show match that we got for this pay-per-view. So starting off on a strong note, two of the very best high flyers in Ring of Honor. I said that about Gordon PJ Black a minute ago, but these two guys, Flamida, I mean, and Orris, was flying all around the ring. Two of the very best luchadors, or Mexican wrestler, whatever you want to say. I never know I guess the right way to say that, but at the very least, two of the best high flyers in wrestling, in Ring of Honor, at least definitely for my money. And they were just flying out there, flying in and out of the ring. The crowd was eating it up. They were just really responding, and it was such a great way to start this show. And I was really hoping to see Flamida win. I think he entered the match as the number 3rd ranked contender in the TV title scene. So I thought, hey, with a win, pretty easily set up Flamida to get a TV title shot. And he did win, and he won pretty darn cleanly. Nothing really, no ifs, ands, or buts. Flamida looked great. Ray Orris looked great. No harm losing there. Flamida did beat Ray Orris in the Survival of the Fittest qualifier, so he seems to have Ray Orris' number here. So I would definitely expect coming out of this to see Flamida challenge the TV title, and we'll talk about that more later on. So I'd be very curious to see. At least at this point, we'll talk about it again later, but Dragon Lee recaptured the title. So at this point, we could be heading toward the Demonic Flamida versus Dragon Lee, and that'd be a very, very interesting clash, both the personalities and of two absolutely excellent high flyers. So definitely looking forward to that one. So whereas this match was very high flying and electric and just, a thrill to watch, the next match on hour one was a lot of fun. It was Pco and Dan Hausen versus the Bouncers. Pco and Dan Hausen, a new team. They were unsuccessful in their first match on Week by Week. But obviously, you're not going to gel right away. So that, but then obviously facing the Bouncers, an established team here, a team with a new edge. The Beer City Bruiser turned heel a couple months ago. So shortly thereafter, after a bit of a drift away from each other, Brian Williams reunited and came around his way of thinking. So the Bouncers, with a new focus, with a new attitude, seemingly were in a position where they. Maybe they should have been the favorites to win. Maybe they should have won in some ways. I'm not here to Monday morning quarterback, but in some ways, as I said earlier, the tag division is a little thin in that sense. So I expected, I'll say, I at least expected Bouncers to win, just kind of set up another strong contender. Instead, Pco and Dan Hausen won. PCO pinned, I believe it was Beer City Bruiser with the PCO salt. This match was all, there was some comedy and some storytelling. PCO had a battery malfunction. Danhausen, he did his usual teeth thing and a bunch of crazy antics. These two guys, two of the most fun personalities in Ring of Honor. I enjoy them a lot. They're just two very fun guys. Put them together, it works, right? The two fun guys, two fun personalities, but it seems like a pretty good winning recipe to me. So as for the Bouncers, a little surprising to see them lose like this. It's worth noting that Sledge, the Metalhead Maniac, came out to the ramp during the match. Didn't do anything during the match. He was there to watch. He kind of clashed with PCO during that rankings battle royal I mentioned a couple minutes ago. I think Sledge eliminated PCO if I remember correct, or maybe PCO. Regardless, they had to run in somehow. This was already a couple weeks ago. So they were definitely kind of setting the stage for some conflict there. Sledge coming out during this match definitely solidified that. And then after the match, he got in PCO's face and really got heated with him. So I would expect to see maybe PCO face Sledge sooner rather than later. And that would definitely be, I would say, the biggest match of Sledge's young Ring of Honor career at this point. So looking forward to that one when it happens. And that was the eventful hour one. And then we had 9 matches on the main card itself. And going off the comments here, well, I might as well just let you guys dictate it in that sense. We got Douglas. Let's talk about the pure title match between Mike Bennett and the champion Jonathan Gresham. Douglas J. Campbell saying Mike Bennett got screwed out of the pure title, whereas Scott Wallace saying Jonathan Gresham is super. So Jonathan Gresham came in this match. I believe he was 10-0 in pure wrestling matches, at least dating back to I think that was overall, and singles pure wrestling matches. And Mike Bennett, a guy that's pretty much untested in pure rules matches. He won the pure rules gauntlet match a couple weeks ago to kind of earn this shot. And then the story of this match was Bennett wanting to prove himself, prove that he is a pure wrestler to Jonathan Gresham and earn his respect. Gresham has been displaying kind of a more attitudinal, not egotistical, but kind of a cocky edge recently. He's one of the standard bearers for the foundation. He's the pure champion, and I know it on Twitter during the show last night, but it's interesting where we've got this stable warfare, and you see the foundation, LFI, and Violence Unlimited. Other than LFI, there aren't really heroes and villains, right? I mean, the Foundation, I usually consider them the good guys, where they want to purify Ring of Honor, bring it back to its roots in some ways. But then you got, Jonathan Gresham out there during the match. He spanked Mike Bennett. It was being pretty disrespectful. And Mike Bennett has been, nothing but a good guy since he came back. He's been the hometown hero. He's reunited with Matt Taven. He's been helping Taven fight the righteous. So, it makes me kind of wonder I actually not wonder, kind of argue that we are seeing some areas of gray in terms of the morality of the foundation here, at least for Jonathan Gresham. Maybe wondering if his success is going to his head in that sense. Maybe we'll see Jonathan Gresham revert to that heelish persona he had a little while ago. But at the very least, and the broadcast team pointed out as well, you can taunt all you want. If you can back it up, do whatever. Jonathan Gresham, I say it every week, one of the very best wrestlers in the world, especially in the pure wrestling sense. For what he does, for what he brings to the table. World class athlete, world class wrestler. Yeah, I can't just watch the guy wrestle. It's art. It's a masterpiece every time he's out there. And being there with a veteran like Mike Bennett, a guy that's been definitely around, that's been a real Ring of Honor. A stalwart, I should say. He went away for a while. He came back. Now he's back in Ring of Honor, and he really is kind of one of the more, I would say, kind of ironically, one of the foundations of Ring of Honor, where in terms of those guys that have been there for a while or that are kind of associated more with Ring of Honor as a brand in that sense. So definitely a compelling clash of generations there with Gresham and the new foundation versus Bennett and Ring of Honor history. As for the match itself, definitely maybe I should say not quite what I expected. I came into this really expecting to see Gresham win pretty decisively. There not to be too much doubt about it, but I've mentioned a couple times now on the pre-show stream of Dennis Farrell, he mentioned just maybe a little curveball. Mike Bennett, he threw the first pitch at a Chicago Cubs game before this pay-per-view. So, and he noted that usually a lot of times when you see guys doing a public appearance like that, kind of teasing that they might be on a little bit of a PR tour. They might be in line for a big win at that, whatever show it's corresponding with. So he definitely pointed that seed of doubt in my mind that maybe Mike Bennett could pull off the upset here, but instead Jonathan Gresham won. It was definitely a great pure rules match. I enjoyed it a lot. Gresham, again, he's incredible. I can't say enough good things about it. excellent submission wrestler. I know it was last week that I was a little or not upset, but I wanted to see Gresham win some of these title defenses more decisively. He rolled up Fred Yehai. I think he rolled up Jay Lethal at the 500th episode. So I was hoping to see some kind of decisive outcome here, whether he made Bennett tap out or pinned him. And thankfully, he did make Mike Bennett tap out. He wrenched his ankle in pretty brutal submission hold. So, no doubts about this one. Jonathan Gresham beat Mike Bennett, but at the same time, Mike Bennett definitely proved himself as a peer wrestler, as a guy that's, here in Ring of Honor, that's more than capable of holding his own in the peer division. So I enjoyed this one a lot. And this was just a great part of the show. I'm going a little out of order here, but Douglas J. Campbell saying it was a great show, and I would definitely agree. I just really enjoyed the show on Sunday. It's just top to bottom, every match delivered, or maybe even over-delivered, exceeded my expectations. So I guess with that, we had one match with the Foundation. We might as well end with Jonathan Gresham. We might as well go into another one. Douglas J. Campbell again chiming in saying, not sure that he likes the tag titles on Dickinson and Homicide. Yes. So at Ring of Honor Best in the World, the Foundation was scheduled to defend the tag titles against Chris Dickinson and Homicide. The champions, Rhett Titus and Trace Williams, won the titles back in 19th anniversary in March. Unfortunately, Trace Williams was in a car accident. I think that was a month or two ago. He's still not quite cleared for action. So early on in the show on Sunday, it was announced that Jay Lethal would be taking Williams' place, but Jay Lethal got beat down so badly by Brody King during their match, and we'll talk about that next, that Jonathan Gresham had to take his place after he'd already beaten Mike Bennett in that pure rules match that I talked about. So Jonathan Gresham was out there after he's already kind of likely exhausted from wrestling in this, I think it was roughly probably 20-minute match. So definitely not at 100%. And we kind of saw this back at 19th anniversary when Kenny King and La Bestia had to substitute in for Dragon Lee because he was unable to compete. For me as a fan, as soon as they announced that Trace Williams wasn't able to go, I kind of thought, okay, maybe we're going to see Violence Unlimited win here because, Titus and Lethal haven't really teamed together. They don't have that chemistry there. In that sense, they don't have that experience together. So while they're stable, I mean, as a more traditional tag team duo in that sense. So I kind of thought that. And then when Gresham got subbed in, I was like, all right, we're probably getting a title change here. And we did. It was a fight without honor, by the way. This was definitely, for me, a little unexpected. Titus and Williams have made clear that whenever they plan to defend the titles, it would be contested under pure rules, which is the exact opposite of a fight without honor. And I will say, definitely, I commend Gresham and Titus for really wrestling a totally different style. Two guys, especially I was talking about Jonathan Gresham in the pure rules match. Jonathan Gresham, one of the very best pure wrestlers in the world. He goes out there and he turns in a great performance in this absolutely chaotic and violent fight without honor. Homicide, Ring of Honor original. This dude brought a fork in there, just trying to stab somebody. Definitely a fun clash of just this ideology of Ring of Honor and the Foundation and trying to purify the company and return it to those traditional roots versus Homicide and violence and kind of that ECW style of just like hardcore and chaos. So definitely, I've said it many times here already on the Recap of Honor throughout the time we've been doing this, but definitely that clash of styles and just I guess ideologies is definitely one of my favorite parts of this stable warfare. So being able to see the Foundation kind of play Violence Unlimited at their own game, and unfortunately, or maybe as you might expect, come up short. Obviously, as I just said, the Foundation, it's all about pure wrestling. I wouldn't necessarily expect them to be, excellent hardcore brawlers or whatever. So in this fight without honor, you kind of have to expect that in some ways, Violence Unlimited would be kind of favored, and in some ways they were. Chris Dickinson, I will say, for me, I haven't seen a whole lot of his work outside of Ring of Honor. I've heard his name so much, and I've been wanting to see him in Ring of Honor for quite a while because I think he has been one of the top guys on the independent scene. So when he arrived as a member of Violence Limited, I was very excited. Now this was kind of my first real chance to see him live in living color in this title match here, and kind of in his own element in this fight without honor. He powerbombed Red Titus off the top rope through a table, and I would call that one of the best spots of the match. And Homicide ultimately pinned Gresham. I mentioned a couple minutes ago. Gresham took the pin here after Homicide hit the Cop Killer. It was kind of like I forget what the exact name of the move is, but it's Homicide's signature move there. So Gresham took the pin. As I said, Gresham, the pure champion, took 2 pins here. Technically, obviously, the pin to Kenny King came first, but this one, regardless, 2 pins in a weekend for the pure champion, very surprising. So I feel like we're more likely to see Kenny King challenge for the pure title than Homicide, just based on the my perception of the 2 wrestlers. I could be wrong. I'm sure that Homicide could put on a great pure rules match if he so chose to. But for me, if I had to predict, I would say I much more expect to see Kenny King challenge for the pure title, because he did say during the pre-show or hour 1 that he wasn't wrestling at Best in the World because there were no title shots available. So he kind of made it clear that if there aren't any title shots available, he's not interested. So with a win or with a pin on John Gresham, I would definitely maybe expect that to be in the works at some point sooner rather than later. So I don't know if I necessarily agree that I don't dislike the titles being on Dixon and Homicide. I think that this is a good way to keep Violence Limited as this legitimate stable. I talked about it on our preview show. You knew that I assumed and predicted none of the stables here of LFI, the Foundation, and Violence Limited, none of them would run the table entirely. The Foundation, I think they had a clean sweep of victories back at Final Battle 2020, but that was their first show, so they really wanted to establish them as a true force, as a true faction in Ring of Honor. Whereas now, you've got this 3-way, if not 4-way, if you count Shane Taylor Promotion. We'll talk about them in a minute. I would not expect any one of these factions to really come away unscathed in terms of nobody would leave without losing, right? Somebody was going to lose the title, especially when you had Deppen facing Dragon Lee with a faction versus faction title match. That's why I saw this tag title match as well. Some factions that had to win, some had to lose, and now we're kind of seeing a new I want to say a new world order in honor of this past week was new NWO week, but essentially a new hierarchy of these stables, because now we'll talk about it later. ROH has lost the world title. Dragon Lee has won the TV title. The Violence Limited has won the tag titles. The Foundation lost those. Gresham retained the pure title. And Brody King beat Jay Lethal. I'm jumping over the place just to prove the point that it is definitely kind of the sense of shakeup and movement of, maybe LFI kind of sinking, but also rising because Dragon Lee regained the title. The Foundation definitely maybe slumping a little bit, having lost the tag titles and having seen Jay Lethal lose to Brody King like that. And then ROH losing the world title, definitely kind of shaking up LFI's, firm grip and firm, rule of Ring of Honor in that sense. So definitely something to look forward to, something to keep an eye on moving forward. I think I like the idea of the potential here for Dickinson and Homicide, going off of Douglas's comment here. Homicide, a Ring of Honor original, he's back, and again, that clash of Violence Limited being this vision for the new Ring of Honor in some ways versus the Foundation, this vision of trying to bring Ring of Honor back to what it once was. And now you have Homicide, again, as that ironic clash of the present and the past, and there's this interesting kind of difference there. And for Dickinson, having him pair with Homicide, two brawlers, 2 guys in the tri-state area, definitely known for their work in Game Changer Wrestling and just around the independent scene. In one interview, I remember Homicide called Dickinson the new king of New York. So Homicide had been that himself on the independent scene at one point. So definitely a fun pairing there in that sense. And at the same time, I get the feeling, at least just maybe a hunch, that this title reign may not last long. I mentioned it earlier, kind of feel like, this might be a transitional reign until the Briscoes get the titles back. Just maybe that's not even a sound prediction. It's kind of maybe a possibility, I'll say. I feel like that's one option that's available. So to pivot away from that, we're talking about Violence Limited and the Foundation here. We saw Brody King face Jay Lethal here, and as Douglas J. Campbell saying, Brody King absolutely destroyed Jay Lethal. This match, and he's right, this match reminded me of if you watched NXT TakeOver last year in your house, Karrion Kross absolutely destroyed Tommaso Ciampa, a guy who'd been really the face of NXT in a lot of ways. So seeing Brody King just really kind of dominate this match and really overpower Jay Lethal at every turn. The outcome was never really in doubt. Lethal hit a flurry of offense kind of after the opening bell, but then King just dominated for the rest of the match. He was too powerful, and Lethal held in there and fought valiantly, but 2 Gonzo bombs, and that was it. The match not terribly long, and as I said, not terribly in doubt in the sense that beyond that opening rally of offense from Lethal, it was pretty clear that King had Lethal's number, and I talked about it, or I wrote about it during the show last night. But for Brody King, a guy that got cheated out of his world title match back at Final Battle against Roosh, definitely this is for me at least. I feel like this is definitely moving him back to the likely the top of the world title scene, where he beat Jay Lethal, a guy that's been, again, the franchise, a former world champion, and to do it in such a decisive, dominating fashion. I have to imagine that Brody King will be in line for a title shot sooner rather than later. So I enjoyed this match. I thought it had a lot of potential to be one of the best matches on the show. Brody King is great. I think he's a great powerhouse, and he's very agile as well. So for me, I think he's really got that potential to be a true main event guy in Ring of Honor. That he's been on the precipice for a while now, and now this win over Jay Lethal and this new edge that he's displaying as the leader of Violence Unlimited, I think that he could be in line for a title shot, if not a title reign. If we want to go that far. I don't think that's terribly out of the question because he's been really impressive lately. He pinned Jay Lethal, obviously in this pay-per-view match, but he also pinned Jay Lethal. I think that was the end of May in a match between Violence Limited and the Foundation, a tag team match. So definitely Brody King being kind of set up as this guy to watch, as a real main event guy, a dark horse, if you will, in the world title scene now. And I want to save that for last. The world title change there with Bandito winning. I referenced it already, but we'll get there. Don't worry. But we had 9 matches on the card here. But I guess just to put a bow on it, this one for Brody King definitely helped me think that again, this hierarchy, this balance of power might be changing a little bit, where Violence Unlimited might be the new premier stable here, where again Roosh lost the title, the Foundation kind of slumping here by losing the tag titles and seeing Lethal lose. So this one for Brody King could kind of vault Violence Unlimited into the forefront in that sense. So definitely, if that is the case, then this was a great way to do it by having Brody King absolutely destroy Jay Lethal again, as Douglas J. Campbell there is saying. Another big match on the card was Josh Woods beating Silas Young. Douglas J. Campbell saying that Woods beating Young was cool. This match definitely one of the more heated grudge matches on the card here. These guys, former tag team partners. We've seen these guys clash a couple times. Woods beat Young in a Pure Rules match a couple weeks ago. Young beat Woods in a singles match before that, so this was the rubber match. Dennis Farrell and I talked about on the preview show, and Dennis really thought that these two guys aren't done yet. And he thought that Silas Young might pull off the win here to kind of prolong this rivalry. But instead, Josh Woods won. And I kind of got the sense. And for me, just the way I usually look at it, last man standing matches are usually blow-off matches for rivalries like this. So I have to think that, these guys might be moving on from each other and heading in different directions. For me, I've said it many times before, I think Josh Woods is very talented. He's got a lot of potential. He's already challenged for the Pure title, and he lost to John the Gresham a couple months ago. So I don't necessarily know where he's going to go from here. Because obviously I don't think having him lose to Gresham again would be the best, but I don't necessarily moving into the TV title scene, and I think it's a little too soon for the world title scene. So maybe another rivalry kind of like this, just another like grudge match for, or I should say another grudge feud in some sense, something more personal. I don't know what that might be. I don't know. I think that he's very much one of the better peer wrestlers in the company, and that's saying something because they're a bunch of very, very talented ones. But he's got the amateur wrestling background, and he had a great run in the Pure title tournament. And as I said about Gresham a minute ago, in that Fight Without Honor, I thought Woods looked great in this last man match, in this very violent, chaotic match. In this sense, where there were tables, chairs, ladders, and working with a guy like Silas Young, a true veteran in the business. Silas Young, this was his first pay-per-view match of the pandemic era that I can recall. He was at ringside for 19th anniversary. I don't think he wrestled at Final Battle, if I recall correctly. If I'm wrong about that, I'm sorry, but he was gone for a while, and he came back. He had a match in the pure title tournament, and then he went away, and then he came back right before 19th anniversary to kind of coach Josh Woods a little bit. So yeah, this is the first time we've seen Silas Young on pay-per-view that I can recall. And that in that case, that would be since before the pandemic, which is, again, that feels like forever. So in that sense, it was cool to see this one of the more veteran guys in Ring of Honor out there, on the card, doing, showing what he's got, and again, so I think Silas Young is very underrated in that sense. I don't think he gets the credit he deserves. And for me, putting Josh Woods in there with a guy like that when they've got this history, when they've got that chemistry as tag team partners, so it's a winning recipe. I said that about Pco and Dan Hausen. Yet again here, it's a winning recipe. Put in there, former tag team partners, a young guy and a veteran like that. It works. There's some tropes in wrestling, and they work for a reason. This is one of them. In the end, a nice callback in the way that Josh Woods won. He German suplexed Silas Young off the apron through 2 tables, and in a couple of I think both their matches they've had, Woods went for that move, not through tables, but onto the floor. And at this time, he finally hit it. So I thought that was a nice kind of a very small thing, but it's so fun kind of callback to those previous matches. So as I said, Josh Woods won. For me, this was definitely a way to kind of elevate him in the sense that he's definitely, not that to say that he was, but as maybe from a casual fan perspective, he's definitely no longer just the dojo guy or the young guy looking to break out. Like, no, Josh Woods is here. He beat Silas Young, a former TV champion, and he's ready for bigger and better things. So whatever that might be, I don't know, but he's definitely going places, and I'm looking forward to see what that is. I've said it many times. I think he's a future champion in Ring of Honor. I think he could be the pure champion. I don't know if he could beat Jonathan Gresham in that sense. But again, I guess to play devil's advocate, we saw Gresham take 2 pins this weekend, so maybe Gresham isn't so unbeatable after all. But who's to say? The both pins did occur in normal matches, not in pure rules matches. So we'll have to wait and see what happens in the event that Josh Woods does get another title match there. So I want to take a brief break from the matches here to talk about a big thing. I guess I'll say 2 big things that happened on the show. One of them on the hour 1, one of them on the main card itself. So on hour 1, we saw trending with Taven. It was former world champion Matt Taven. He came out to the ring, and despite all the hubbub and the buzz about the fans being back, Matt Taven was not in a good mood. He was upset that I guess maybe in some ways he was upset that he wasn't on the card, but in some more ways he was upset that he had good memories of being back in the building, in the venue, but at the same time, some of those memories were tainted by Vincent and the things that Vincent has done to him there. So. And overall, he's having this ghost of this feud with Vincent continuing to haunt him. So he made it clear that he wanted to end things with Vincent once and for all. This is a feud that's been going on since the Road to Final Battle 2019. So that's, I think, over a year and a half at this point. And this feud has been going on for quite a while. It's remained very engaging and compelling and personal, but it is definitely time to end it once and for all. And these 2 guys will do that at Glory by Honor Night 2 in August at the former ECW Arena, the 2300 Arena, in a steel cage match. Huge announcement on the hour 1 portion of Best in the World here. So basically, Taven said, hey, this town ain't big enough for the both of us. If you agree to face me, I'll leave Ring of Honor. So, and that caught me. I was like, wow, Matt Taven could leave? What? That's crazy. And then Vincent said, no. I don't want you to leave Ring of Honor. Like, that's not what I'm interested in. I want your world title shot. Now, if you remember, Bateman, Vincent's right-hand man in the Righteous, was supposedly going to hand Vincent the world title by winning the Survival of the Fittest tournament. Bandito beat Bateman in the qualifying match, so that didn't happen. But obviously, Vincent is targeting the world title now, so he's using this match as his chance to get that world title shot. As long as I've been watching Ring of Honor, I haven't seen a steel cage match yet, so it's definitely been a while since I've done one. So that I think this feud is definitely the perfect choice for it, in the sense that maybe they'll actually have the Righteous stay out of this, or that's the purpose of the steel cage. And for Taven, putting his world title shot on the line, a former champion there, I mean, that's a big deal. When the way this kind of fell out, though, I was a little curious, like, well, what does Vincent have to lose? Like, Taven's putting up his world title shot. Taven offered to leave the company if Vincent agreed to the match, but it doesn't seem like Vincent is really risking anything, right? If he loses, he loses to his enemy, and then there's that loss of pride or whatever, loss of momentum or whatever. But I did want to see maybe a little more like more stakes, a little more something. But it was very, very like surprising to me. I was like, oh wow, this is on the first hour of the show, getting this huge announcement, steel cage match, Glory by Honor in Philadelphia. Fans are gonna be at that show. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be electric in the former ECW arena. And obviously, by having that high stakes there with Taven's title shot on the line and all of this history there, this bitterly personal feud, definitely exciting there. So that was on the first hour. Definitely a big announcement coming out of the show, and also Maria Kanellis Bennett and Lenny Leonard came out to the stage during the show itself and revealed the new women's world title. They revealed the women's world champion title tournament bracket. We got the full bracket now, almost full bracket. And Chelsea Green, the hot mess, arrived in Ring of Honor. A very shocking move. She came to the stage wearing a cast, and she had been released from WWE in April. Technically, her 90 days weren't quite up yet, but it just worked out where she was able to make this appearance, and she'll be competing for Ring of Honor, part of the Ring of Honor Women's Division. 1 month from now, she made clear she has not been cleared for action, so she'll miss the Women's World Title Tournament, but you can bet that she'll be eagerly vying for a title shot at the very least, no matter who wins the tournament. And we did get the full bracket, which is available on WrestleZone, and we did an article for it, and of course on RingOfHonor.com. But definitely many notable. We already knew most of the names here, but I'll run through it real quick here. We're going to see Miranda Elise versus Alex Garcia, and Maserati versus Nicole Savoy, Allison Kay, a former world champion, versus Willow Nightingale, Marty Bell versus Trish Adora, Sumi Sakai versus Roxy, the Prodigy, Mandy Leon versus To Be Determined. I'll explain that in a minute. Max the Impaler versus Holodead, and Angelina Love has a first round bye now. Mandy Leon was scheduled to face Vita Von Star. Vita Von Star had her spot in the tournament revoked, so now there's one spot remaining. This was a little confusing because Chelsea Green came out as this was being explained, and it made it seem like she's part of the tournament, but she's not. So that it took me a minute to kind of put two and two together there. But this weekend on Ring of Honor Wrestling, Quinn McKay, the broadcaster, the host of Ring of Honor Wrestling, will face Mandy Leon. And if McKay wins, she will get that final spot. I'm not sure what will happen if she doesn't win. I'm not sure who that spot will go to otherwise. They didn't really say. But obviously, Leon and Angelina Love of the Allure have been at odds with Quinn McKay for months. Leon cost McKay her match with Angelina Love a couple months ago, so definitely some bitter feelings here. And for Quinn McKay, a huge opportunity. I thought she looked great in her match with Angelina Love, so you can imagine she'll be coming in this match with a lot of motivation and revenge on her mind, and I'm very much looking forward to that. And just in general, definitely, I think I speak for many fans when I say I am very excited for the return of women's wrestling to Ring of Honor, and I think this tournament is a great way to do it. I think getting Chelsea Green on board is a great addition. She's a star. I'll admit I don't know a whole lot about her work. I know she's just got all this buzz about her. You know, we didn't really get to see a lot of what she could do in WWE, and I'm not very familiar with. I haven't seen her work in Impact Wrestling myself. I know she had this great run as a hot mess, but she's definitely very buzzworthy, and maybe in some ways for that alone, that's very valuable for this reborn women's division. So once she is cleared for action, once we do see this tournament come to fruition and you see how it all falls out, I think I'll definitely be curious to see how she fits in with that women's division. So we did learn that beyond the McKay-Leon match this weekend, we will see the tournament begin the weekend of July 31st, right around the corner, and the finals of the tournament will be held at Death by Dishonor, which will be in September. We were told to expect an announcement about that event in the latest edition of the X-Files on RingOfHonorWrestling.com. So I imagine we'll probably hear the date for that show, maybe this week or soon because it's right around the corner. So of course, when I know more, I will share that with you guys both on this show and at WrestleZone.com and with news coverage. So definitely lots to look forward to in that sense. And we haven't even finished talking about the show yet. Lots more to dig into here. I mentioned it earlier in the show, but we also got to see EC3 versus Flip Gordon. Now, on the previous show, I was talking with Dennis Farrell about this. Ring of Honor announced, or I should say previously, Ring of Honor announced that Flip Gordon will challenge for the world title at Glory by Honor Night 1. He won the Honor Rumble. I think it was back at Gateway to Honor in February of 2020. Feels like a million years ago. But he earned a world title shot by doing that, and he has not gotten it yet. So Glory by Honor, he will get that title shot. And by virtue of that announcement, that announcement came on June 16th. So obviously before Best in the World, it was very easy to say, okay, connecting the dots here. Flip Gordon's got this title match next month. Flip Gordon's got to beat EC3, Best in the World. It'd be great for him to beat this world champion and to go into that match with more momentum. That didn't happen. EC3 won. It was a very fun match. EC3, a former world champion, a guy that's uber talented. He's such a physical specimen. The guy is unbelievable. He's just there's the classic quote like, if you could construct a wrestler in a lab, it would look like EC3. That's it. Like EC3, great look, great charisma, great. I mean, and now we're getting to see him in a Ring of Honor wrestling style. Definitely something different than what we've seen in his WWE career, in his Impact Wrestling career. Definitely something different in that sense. And he's delivering. He faced Jay Briscoe at 19th anniversary, put on a great performance in defeat. He lost that match. So as much as I expected Flip Gordon to win, I would have been pretty surprised if EC3 lost 2, because that would be that'd make him 0-2 in his pay-per-view matches. So in some ways, I was talking about Brody King earlier. Now, with EC3 beating a guy that's owed a world title shot, and that's getting a world title shot, I should say, I definitely expect to see maybe EC3 climbing the rankings for the world title, maybe sooner around later here. And deservedly so, a former world champion, a guy that's definitely proven himself as a wrestler, and now he's really excelling in Ring of Honor. So I would like to see him against any number of other of the top guys in Ring of Honor in that sense. So in the end here, EC3 pin Flip Gordon after them, and I like the story they told here. Gordon attacked the EC3's leg and kind of neutralizing his power, and EC3 kept overpowering Gordon anyway. So again, I said a couple minutes ago, something you see a lot in wrestling, but it's if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's a story that works. These guys told it beautifully, and I liked it a lot. And in the end, EC3 was just too much. After the match, as I said about the Flip Gordon PJ Black match, as you might expect, Flip Gordon refused EC3's handshake, and this was kind of interesting. EC3 offered the handshake 3 times. The first 2 times, Flip Gordon slapped him. The third time, Flip Gordon spit in his face. So definitely Flip Gordon not so on board with the whole idea about the code of honor and just being honorable in general here. But for me, yeah, this was very surprising in the sense that, we did see we saw Flip Gordon lose like that, and he's owed this world title shot. He's getting his world title shot next month. So that did strike me as a little surprising. And I guess at the very least, I would just hope that over the next month, he'll have a couple matches on TV to kind of get some of that buzz back, get some of that momentum back. But yeah, this was definitely one of the more surprising results on the card. And obviously, one of the real big surprising ones was the main event. When we'll get there, we're not quite there yet. We'll get to the card now. It looks like we've got a couple matches left to go here. Let's start with the TV title match. It was Dragon Lee challenging Tony Deppen for the title. These 2 guys stole the show, and I can't recommend enough. Check out some highlights. Check out the match itself if you haven't seen it. This was the rematch of Final Battle 2020, where Deppen made his pay-per-view debut. He challenged Lee for the title back then. Lee won. Deppen entered the show as the champion. He beat Trace Lambs a couple months ago. And I consider Dragon Lee kind of the favorite to win this match, and he won, although not that little help. But gotta credit to Tony Deppen. He did a suicide dive Canadian Destroyer that set the internet on fire. Everyone, even the people that weren't really watching the show, that saw the GIF online, went crazy about it. It was a great spot that really added a lot to the match. These guys went all out there. Dragon Lee, even though he's like a high-flying kind of cruiserweight style kind of guy, one of the best strikers in the game that I would say. His brutal knees and kicks are just something else to see. In the end, a distraction from Kenny King helps Dragon Lee win the title here. So Dragon Lee regains the TV title. He's now it's his second reign on the title. He lost it when I mentioned earlier when Kenny King had to fill in for him at 19th anniversary there. So as I said a couple minutes ago, whereas Roosh lost the world title, we'll talk about that in a couple minutes. Dragon Lee has regained this title, so LFI coming out of the show not looking too bad. Still having a champion, getting some positive momentum coming out of the show in that sense. So they can't be too upset with that. And it makes me think that Dragon Lee will be sticking around. He's a guy that's definitely he's done work in New Japan, and that could excel anywhere. So Ring of Honor definitely as a fan, I'm very glad that he's still there, and I hope to see him sticking there for the foreseeable future. And now I hope to see him have another good reign with the title. Just he's a guy that turns in great matches pretty much every single time he's out there. So and that's what you want a champion. That's all there really is to say about it. And having LFI pick up this, again, having that momentum there, definitely good to see. Another title match that we haven't gotten to yet. Shane Taylor Promotions retained the 6-man titles against the oddball team of Dalton Castle, Eli Isom, and Dak Draper. I interviewed Shane Taylor before the show or earlier last week, and he was saying that, an untested team like he was facing on Sunday is dangerous because you don't know what to expect. And that's true. That was a very valid point, and I liked how he really sold the idea that, hey, anything can happen. We have to be kind of prepared. But obviously, Shane Taylor Promotions, it's a well-oiled machine. They're the champions for a reason. They're a dominant trio. Shane Taylor and the Soldiers of Savagery. All three guys look great. It was really cool seeing them get the entrance from the live crowd. They've just got such a presence and I'll say the it factor. I think Khan of the Soldiers of Savagery has a lot of potential, and I just think he's really going places as well. Maybe more among a lot of Ring of Honor's young talented stars. I see a lot of potential, a lot of bright things in his future. I think he's really he's got it. Again, I think that about the group. I think that about Khan individually. Moses is great as well. All three guys look great. Shane Taylor, brutal striker. I was just saying about Dragon Lee, one of the best strikers in the game. Shane Taylor, those headbutts, those knees to the face, absolutely brutal. Of course, Isom, Draper, and Castle were undone by their failure to coexist. As you might expect, these two guys, they've been somewhat feuding in recent months, and they got this title match. Definitely did not expect them to emerge victorious, and they didn't. They just could not stay on the same page. Castle shoved Isom shoved Draper. They're just shoving each other and getting each other's way. And Castle got in Isom's way when he was pretty much on the verge of victory. So definitely, I would expect to see something there where we might see Isom versus Draper again, Isom versus Castle. It feels like that story is not done yet, but for Shane Taylor Promotions, a great title defense. I thought they all looked impressive, and we'll see them in action this weekend on Ring of Honor Wrestling. The four of them, including O'Shea Edwards, the fourth man, face the Foundation in an 8-man tag team match. That'll be very exciting to see. I've mentioned it before, but Shane Taylor Promotions has kind of stayed on the periphery of the stable warfare. They faced the Foundation before. I think they've clashed with LFI once, and maybe a little bit here and there otherwise, but they've been pretty much kept out of it. But now they're going to be facing the Foundation, and coming out of this win at Best in the World, I think they're sitting pretty, and maybe in a position where they can kind of assert themselves as a real top stable here in Ring of Honor, and continue to enjoy this great reign as a 6-man tag team champions there. So beyond that, I'm looking now, and other than the world title match, that's it. Yes, wait, it's time to talk about the world title match. So in the main event, we had Roosh, the man who had been the champion for 498 days, defending against Bandito, a guy that had won the Ring of Honor Survival of the Fittest tournament, a tournament that's been won by greats like Tyler Black, Brian Danielson, Adam Cole, Jay Lethal, many of the greatest competitors in Ring of Honor history. Bandito won that last month in June. But still, for me, Bandito, 26 years old, I'm a huge fan of him. I think he's immensely talented. I came into this match, I'm like, man, I think we're going to have a great match. I think Bandito is going to push Roosh. I think it's going to be a real, just a great main event. But I don't see Roosh losing. I was wrong. I was absolutely wrong. Bandito won the world title at Best in the World. Congratulations. For me, I've been saying it as long as I've been covering Ring of Honor, as long as I've been doing this show. Bandito is absolutely phenomenal. He's one of the very best all-around wrestlers for my money in the game. He's an amazing high flyer. He's got a great power game. I think he at one point he hit his shooting star press slam on Roosh, a guy that's I would consider a heavyweight, and Bandito, kind of a cruiserweight style kind of high flyer. He's got this great blend of power and speed. And usually you say that about big guys that can move quickly. No, in this case, it's Bandito, a slightly smaller guy that can burst out some great power moves. I was very surprised by this. Basically, Roosh took the fight to Bandito right away, and I thought we were kind of in for a pretty decisive squash match in some ways. But Bandito rallied, and he kept Roosh on his toes. Roosh kicked out the 21 plex. I don't think anybody ever does that. Yeah, I will admit I'm still kind of surprised about this. Douglas J. Campbell saying how cool it's to see Benito beat Rush for the title. It was very cool. I'm happy with this. I think it'll be great with having live fans back. It makes perfect sense why Ring of Honor would want a guy like Benito, a fan favorite, a guy that's a high flyer. It's obviously people love high flyers, and they're easy to cheer and get behind. They've got electric spots and everything. Benito's genuinely likable. He's been Ring of Honor for a couple years now. I think he's earned this. I'm more questioning from the booking standpoint of like, yeah, he won the survival of the fittest, but to me, like, I was surprised that this. It felt like a quick turnaround. Like the Mexa squad imploded. Bandito lost to Flamida at one point, and then Bandito turned right around and won the title, the world title. Like, this very prestigious world championship being won by the 26-year-old, ending Rush's reign at 498 days. For me, you have a lengthy reign like that. I was thinking that it'd really be built up as this like big feud, this big program, maybe at Death Before Dishonor, or maybe even stretching out all the way to Final Battle at the end of the year. I don't know. Instead, Bandito's world champion, heading into what should be a very eventful and exciting summer for Ring of Honor. Rouge had a good reign. I think it was handicapped by the pandemic, obviously. That is no secret there. He was unable to be on Ring of Honor programming for quite a while due to travel restrictions and everything. But yeah, I am very surprised, and not in a bad way at all. I do think I'll be very curious to see how Bandito is presented as this champion, as a main event player. We really haven't really seen him as that. Like, and I will say it is worth pointing out, Bandito rolled up Rush when Rush tried to rip his mask off, so it's kind of an upset win in that sense. And then right after the bell, LFI beat down Bandito. Like, there was a 4-on-1 assault where Rush, Kenny King, and La Bestia and Dragon Lee got in there. They beat down Bandito. Rush hit Bandito with the title. And kind of they posed over him, and they left him lying on this night that's supposed to be this great crowning bandito for him. We do know that Bandito will defend the title against Flip Gordon at Glory by Honor, and also Bandito and Ray Orris will face Rush and Dragon Lee on night 2 of Glory by Honor in Philadelphia in August in a non-title match. But kind of continuing that story there, gotta imagine that Rush will get a rematch at some point. But yeah, I guess my big takeaway, I'm excited because I really like Bandito. I think he's very, very talented and does more than deserving. Deserving is not the problem at all. Readiness in some ways, and more from, again, that booking perspective of like, this is a guy that's just it doesn't feel like in some ways it almost didn't feel like this was the plan. Like, this did feel a little abrupt, and I'm glad that it happened. I mean, I think that he could do great things as the champion, but I don't know. I'm curious, and in some ways, just admittedly, the way that the post match angle went, like, you're going to leave the champion lying on the night he won the title. I don't know. Like, it feels like in some ways this might be just a not even transitional thing, like a temporary thing, where Rush might win the title back. I don't know. It's hard to say. I hope that's not the case. I hope Bandito gets a great run of the title and really just proves not proves me wrong, because I'm saying that he's great and he deserves it. I'm more saying I hope that the Ring of Honor and Bandito mutually, make the most of this, or prove the doubters wrong. Because I'm not necessarily doubting. I know it sounds like I am. I'm more just trying to raise some what I hope are valid concerns about it, because I am excited for Bandito. I'm excited for Ring of Honor. The title changes that we saw at Best in the World were definitely drove home the sense that Best in the World was this beginning of a new era in a lot of ways, and I think Ring of Honor tends to do that traditionally in a bunch of some of these pay-per-views. You'll have a lot of title changes, and it's this new era, this new chapter, especially with fans coming back with the Women's World Title Tournament, starting in a couple weeks. It is this sense of change and fresh and new and exciting. So having Bandito win the title is exciting in that sense. And again, I hope that the promotion and Bandito, again, the booking and the performer kind of come together here in the sense that he's presented well and that he executes it well. So overall, I'm very excited. Ring of Honor Best of the World is a great show. If you haven't seen it, you gotta check it out. Every week I say Ring of Honor, the TV show is free. There's no added charge. Yeah, Best of the World was a pay-per-view, so you have to pay for it, but It's worth every buck you're going to pay, if not more than that. It is the best wrestling on the planet. I know I enjoy it a lot. I'm biased, I know, so maybe I shouldn't be saying that. But can't recommend it enough. You know, if you get a chance to, I definitely recommend checking it out. At the very least, for no extra charge, Ring of Honor has some highlights on the YouTube channel. So check that out, and so you can see that I really am saying, maybe they're not too off base by saying it is just absolutely tremendous wrestling on a regular basis. You gotta check it out. And you know, I enjoy it a lot because that's what we do here at Wrestling. We enjoy the wrestling, and to do that, and how to help you all do that, we always try to have and we do have a great stream of post shows and podcasts and interviews constantly coming to you guys. I'm recording this on Monday, so John Clark and I will be back here on Monday night to talk about WWE Monday Night Raw. The Dynamite Dudes Attitude cover AEW, and they also do WCW Written for fun Facebook and stuff. John Clark and I will be back on Tuesday night to talk about WWE NXT as well. Last week, I lost power 5 times, so we could not do the NXT show last week, but hopefully things are back to normal this week. That is the plan. And also, Robert D. Felice and I cover Friday Night SmackDown. We will be on Saturday this week, so make sure to tune in for that. The first show, we'll live with fans back. It's going to be a great time as a fan. Going to be a great time talking about it, hearing what all you guys have to say about it. All these things, and a great stream of interviews constantly coming to you guys. Dominic D'Angelo recently interviewed the Fonz. You got to check that out. That's crazy. I interviewed Shane Taylor last week. Bill Pritchard recently interviewed Weston Blake, formerly known as Wesley Blake. Just this great stream of interviews constantly coming to you guys. Always looking to add more and presenting more on whenever any of these things, the post shows, interviews, whenever something new comes up, you can find it on any number of our streaming platforms, or at SoundCloud, Spotify, YouTube, podcasts, whatever it may be. We've got you covered. So leave a like and subscribe. And remember, whether it's Ring of Honor and Best in the World, whether it's WWE, AEW, whatever it may be, we do one thing above all others here at WrestleZone, and that is to enjoy wrestling. Thanks for listening.